Welcome back to another lesson on text processing and analysis with Python. We're going to look at lesson 5.1 in this video. And let me share my screen. Okay, lesson 5.1 is about file handling or file I/O, which means input and output. That's what the I/O stands for, file input and output. So up to this point, in the first 4 weeks of this course, the input that our Python programs have received has been very simple things that the user of the program types in, that is us, we type in, or just very short things. That's not realistic, right, to do like serious linguistic analysis. So now we need to be able to read in text from files, like a TXT file that has a bunch of text, or like a full novel, right? Or like the whole Bible, a whole Book of Mormon you can read in, and work with larger amounts of text. And so obviously manually typing in, full novels is not practical, right? So we need to be able to read in files. So the objective of this lesson is to have students be capable of navigating to a directory. Directory is computer speak for folder. Navigating to a directory or a folder and reading into the program, to your Python program, or writing out of it to the hard drive, as well as appending to a text file. Those are the objectives of this lesson, the one objective with several different components. So chapter 14 of the textbook Think Python talks about files and persistence, right? You can store things in the hard drive. That's what persistence is getting at. Reading and writing, right? I'm going to show you a different way. They use close here. I'm going to show you a more Pythonic way, a better way, and I'll explain why it's better. Anyway, yeah, files. So that's the main event here. This chapter is a good chapter. Hope you enjoy reading it. So the logic is pretty straightforward. It's not too difficult to grasp what happens. First thing you do is you establish a connection to a file on the hard drive or on like a flash drive, but somewhere on your computer, right? With the open function. So the open function creates that connection. And then you specify within the open function call, you specify whether you're reading, which is the default, writing, or both reading and writing, or appending. Right. More often than not, we'll just do one or the other, either read or write. These other ones we do less often. The default is R, so the default is read. Okay, and that is within the mode argument of the open function call. Okay, then you use the with keyword before the call to open, and the as keyword to assign the file connection to a variable. Here's an example on Stack Overflow. So here's an example, Pythonic way to read file one line at a time. So here we have with, I'll make this bigger. We have with, the keyword I mentioned a second ago. We have with, open, and then the pathway as a string to the file. So it's a pathway on your computer to the file, wherever it's sitting. You give it as a string between quotes. And then the next argument is the mode argument. So you don't have to say mode equals, but you could. R is read, and you say as, and then some variable name. And then colon, then indentation. And then this person is looping over that file connection, which the effect is that it'll loop over each line in the file. And then prints. This is a Python 2 way to print, by the way. Python 3 requires parentheses after print. Okay, so that's one way to loop over the file connection, and which means you read one line at a time. This way right here, the second example is it reads in all the lines into a list with each line as its own element in the list. By line, I mean hard return on the keyboard, which could be like a big paragraph, right? That probably is a big paragraph in text, like in novels. But so line refers to a hard return, not just a visual line. We're talking about paragraphs, right? A paragraph could be one visual line or like many, right? Okay, so that's a quick rundown. Once again, we have with keyword, open, opens a function, a string that gives the pathway to the file on your hard drive. And then the default mode is read, so you don't actually have to specify if you're only reading, as another keyword, and then some variable name that you'll use later below, like right here. So they decided to use F for line and F. This is a variable name that they give, right, to use within the for loop. And then they print out the line. Once again, Python 3 requires parentheses around that line. Okay, so that's a quick example of how to open a connection and read line by line and just print to the console. All right. Right, then you do something with the file. It's called the file object or the file handle, what we save as a variable. So let me jump back over to that example, which was right here. So this F, right, is a variable, and it's holding a file object or file handle. Those are synonymous. And you do something with the file handle. And then if you use the with keyword, the file connection will automatically close once the indentation is lined up with the line with the with. So let me jump back over to the textbook. In the textbook, they propose that you save it to a variable object, like a variable like this, some variable name equals open, and then do that. And then you're supposed to close it with this variable name dot close at the bottom of my screen. The problem with that is that if there's some error between those 2 points, between the time you open up the connection and you finally close it, if there's some error in the code that stops the script from running, it could cause file corruption to happen. Not every time, but it could. And so the recommended way in Python, at least now, is to use this with keyword, so that if there is an error in here, it would automatically close the file connection, trying to avoid file corruption. So that's the way I'll show you. Okay, so file management operations with the OS module. So the OS module, I believe it stands for operating system. I'm not sure, probably. But it has a couple useful functions in that module. The get CWD, which stands for get current working directory. That's what the CWD stands for. It tells you what your current working directory is. Now, those who are new to computer programming, you're like, what is a working directory? What is that about? Let me just open this up. This is Windows, or excuse me, this is Mac. On Windows, you'd use like a Windows Explorer, right? The Windows Explorer can let you navigate within folders, directories, right? And get down to a file and say, okay, here's my file. On Mac, they have the Finder program does that, same idea, right? We have, here is EKB5, and within EKB5, I have documents, and within documents, I have LING 360, and within LING 360, I have, sample texts here, and there's some files in here. I have 7 sample texts in various languages. So you can see the structure. There's a hierarchy, like at the top level, or at a higher level, I had EKB5, and within that directory or folder, I have a bunch of folders, one of which is documents. And within documents, I have a bunch of folders, and within there, I have one called LING 360, etc. So it's a nested hierarchy thing. So to navigate around to get to the file that you want to read into Python, you need to be aware of how your operating system is set up. So you can tell Python where on your computer to find the file that you need. On Windows computers, the pathway will usually start with C:. C is the main hard drive on Windows computers. And so the pathway will start with C:, slash or 2 slashes, depending on their forward or back. And then, probably your username, and then documents, or, depends on where the file is that you're trying to get to. Okay. So that's what change working directory, get working directory tells you. It just simply tells you where the program considers the working directory to be. Which directory is the working directory? The one that it currently is looking in. And then chdir is change working directory. So that's how you actually change to the one you want to get to, the directory you want to get to. And then list dir returns the contents of the current working directory. Okay, so having a clear understanding of where your program is at and where you need to go from the current directory that you're in is important. And in general, if I think I can say this pretty confidently, that wherever your Python script is stored, that's the current working directory. And if you need to get elsewhere, you need to do the change the chdir function, this one, to change to a different one, which will be often will be the case. Okay, so those are file management operations with the OS module. And there are several file object methods and ways of reading in a file. Here are 4. One is .read. So once again, that file object, let me jump back over to the example on Stack Overflow. So this F right here is holding the file object. F is a variable name, and it's holding the file object. So here's one of those methods. You can actually do a for loop on that file object, which means it'll go line by line, like I explained a minute ago. So that's actually one way, which is the third way I list right here. Loop over the file object in a for loop. This is similar to read line method in a for loop. Okay, so the read line method, if you did f.readline, open close parentheses, if our file object was named f, we had saved it to that variable, it would read the first line and then wait and be ready to read the second line if you ask it to do another call to file, or excuse me, to read line. And if you do a second call to read line, it'll read that line and then go and wait at line 3 and see if you want to do another read line. Right. And so if you put read line in a for loop, it's basically identical to just going looping over the file object in a for loop like they do right here. Okay. And so, but the .read, if you do f.read, for example, it reads the whole thing as a single string. Even if it's a whole book or just a massive amount of text, if you do the .read, it'll bring it in as one big massive string. However many words and characters, it doesn't really matter, as long as your computer memory can handle it. Python doesn't mind how big it is. And then this final one, .read lines, mind the S there on the function name, returns a list with each line as a separate element in the list. Okay, so there are 4 ways to read in a file once you have a connection created and you save that connection to a variable name. Okay, so let's give it a try. Here's some practice. It says download the text file from the publisher's website, the textbook, with that address right there, URL. Write a program that navigates using the OS module to the directory with the words.txt file, txt file, reads the file, and prints only the words with 20 or more letters. Okay, so I will let you guys try that. I would recommend you pull up this example that I have linked to from right here on my lesson plan. That this SO is Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is a website that is useful for coding questions. It's a question and answer form. And it's dedicated to coding. So I have it linked to there, right, for my lesson plan. And that's what I've been displaying over here. Okay. So once again, the practice is to first download this text file from the publisher's website. I'll show you how to do that. If you just click on it within my lesson plan, if you just click on the link, it'll bring up this. And you can see in the URL up here with my mouse, I'm circling the URL extension, which is .txt. So you can see that that's actually a TXT file that we're looking at on this greentpress.com website, the book's website. And this is a TXT file with like 200,000 words, just a massive list of words think this list is often used for spell checkers to see if they find, when they don't find a word in here, then they say it's a misspelled word. So download that, just, whatever you want to do a right click and do save as, or if you do like Control S right now, what would happen if I do Control S? Yeah, I would do the same thing if I do Control S on my keyword, download it somewhere. Okay, so download it, and then you're gonna have to, within your Python program, you're gonna have to navigate with the OS module using probably change directory. But yeah, you're gonna use change directory. And then read in the words. You can do line by line, or you can read all of them in, whatever way you want to. I'll let you make that choice. Try and figure it out yourself. If you need a recommendation, I'd probably just go with the loop within a for loop, like they have right here on the example. And then print out only words that have 20 or more letters. So there's several moving parts that you have to put into a pipeline to get this to work. First of all, download, that's easy, right? Point and click with your mouse, done. Put it somewhere on your hard drive. And then you write a Python program that imports OS. You navigate to the directory that has the words.txt file. Then you make a file connection. And then I would recommend, pretty easy, to just loop over that file connection in a for loop, right? For variable name in file connection name, colon. And then you have to do an if statement, right? If the length of the current word is greater than or equal to 20, then print it out. And that, so I kind of walk through verbally with you the way I'd go about that. So pause the video and give that a try and see if you can make it work. Ready, set, pause. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at how I would do this. You grab this little bit of code, come over here. Okay. So I put the words.txt file in my directory for Ling 360 on my computer. On my Mac, this is the pathway from the top of the computer file system down to the directory with the words.txt file, right? So let me just show you here. So I go here. So this is the very top of the file system on my computer, my Mac in front of me. Okay, so there's, at the very top, there is a directory called users, right? So that's between the first set of slashes. Then the next directory is EKB5, that's my net ID, EKB5. And then within EKB5, there's documents right there. And then within within documents, there's Ling 360. Ling 360 right there. And then you can see within this directory, I have the words.txt. There it is. So you can see the preview is showing you some of the words there on in words.txt. So I'm starting from the very top of my file system, users slash users slash EKB5 slash documents slash Ling 360. And then I stop there. I just need to navigate into that directory with that os.chdr. Okay, so you need to change this to the directory on your computer. Once again, if you're using a Windows, I assume it's going to be C:. You should just simply use the Windows Explorer on Windows computers to find your file and then go up to the address bar and look at where it is. And you can even right click on that address and copy it and put it into your Python script. That's probably the easiest way. Okay. So that's the first thing I do. I simply navigate to the directory that has the words.txt file. Good. Then on line 4, I do a with. I say with open words.txt as fin, which is file in. I could even make it very explicit and say in file, which means I need to change it down here. Okay, so I'm using the keyword with. I'm using the function open to open the file name, which is called words.txt. I don't have to specify the mode because the default is read, which is what we want to do. But in a second, we're going to have to write out, and we're going to have to put a W in for mode. But you don't have to put mode equals R. It won't change the behavior because the default is R. As is a keyword, and then some variable name that holds the file object or file handle. And then you have to indent below that with, right? So that the file connection is still open. And then we do for some variable name. I'll use the variable name line because it's going to go line by line. In keyword, and then the variable that's holding the file object right there, which I called in file on line 4. Okay, then colon. So we're going into a for loop over that file connection, indented, right? Make sure you see the indentation there within the body of the for loop. And then I do a string method called strip, which when we looked at strings, there's quite a few useful string methods, one of which is strip, which is, it strips off the flanking white space. Excuse me. Because the reason is it's going to have a new line break on the right side of each word on each line. So in order to get rid of that new line break, I strip it off with the dot strip string method on line. And I say that to a variable called word. Then I say if the length of word is greater than or equal to 20, colon, make sure you see there's indentation there as well, print out that word. Okay. So let's run this and see what happens. I updated my OS. Let me pause the video and figure out this configuration. Okay, yeah, I updated my OS to Big Sur, and so I need to reconfigure it. So yeah, so it worked correctly. I'll just run it again. Run again. And yeah, so it looks like there are how many words here? I don't know. About 10 or so. 8 words that have 20 or more letters in them. We have counter demonstration, counter demonstrations, counter demonstrators, hyper aggressiveness, and others. There you can see in my console. Okay, so out of 200,000 words or so in that big list in words.txt, there are 8 that have 20 or more characters. Okay. So if you'd like to pause the video, take a look here at my screen, or if you'd like to look at the solution file, this is in the solution file as well. Okay, pause the video if you like. All right, so let's keep rolling here with some more practice. It says write a function called has no e that takes as input a string and returns as output a Boolean value that is true or false, indicating whether the string has the letter E in it. Modify your previous program to print only words that are 15 letters or long, 50 or more letters, and don't have the letter E in them. Okay, so if you have an idea, you can pause the video now and go for it. If you need a little bit of coaching here on the logic of what you need to do, then let me talk a bit about that. So you would make a function, right? We've done that several times now, quite a few times. You create your own user-defined function called has no E that takes as input a string and returns as output a Boolean value of true or false. And it simply indicates whether the string given has E in it. And you can simply do that by saying E not in, or yeah, E in string, that would return true, or quoted E not in string, that would return true if it does not have an E. Either way, I'd probably define it as E in string. So it would return true if the string has an E in it. And then modify your previous program to print only words that are 15 letters or longer and don't have the letter E in them, right? So you have to modify that if statement to use the word and, it's a keyword and use that function has no E. You should put not before that function call. Put and not has no E. Okay. Actually, anyway, pause the video and give that a try for a few minutes. All right, let's take a look at how I approach this. Okay, let's look at the code for a bit here. So here I'm defining the new function, right? It has no E, takes in a string that I call word. I give the variable name word to it. Here's a nice little doc string telling what the function does. Then I loop over each letter in word. Yeah, the way I described it orally before a few minutes ago is not what I'm doing here, but this will work as well. So I loop over each letter in the word, and I push each letter to lowercase as I go through and look at each one in turn, iteratively. And I say if that letter is equal to E, lowercase e, remind the double equal sign there, return false, because we're saying, does this word not have an E? So if it does have an E, then it should return false. If it returns true, that means it has no E, right? So that's how I define that function there. And then here I import OS there. You could do this up above at the top of the script. That's usually where you do it. I change directories with OS and dot change dir, CHDIR, into the directory on my computer here that has the words.txt file. I create a file connection with it on line 14 with open string file name as variable name. Right? Fin is a shorthand for file in. You could write in file, whatever variable name you want, just something transparent to you so you can make sure you use it where you need to use it. And then I'm going to loop over each line in that file. Again, I'm going to strip off the white, the new line break on the right side of each word line, which is one word per line. Then I say if the length of word is greater than or equal to 15 and has no E evaluates to true, which means there is no E in the word, then print out the word. And I don't have an else statement because I don't really want it to do anything else. Like if it doesn't have, if it has fewer than 15 letters or it does have any, then just, I don't want it to do anything. Just want it to go to the next word. It'll just jump to the next word in this for loop. So let's run this, take a look. All right, there are quite a few. I don't know, maybe 100 there. I'm not sure. Quite a few, but if you look at any one of these, you can see that this is a long word. It has at least 15 characters, and none of them are E. So there you go. No E's in here, and they're all 15 letters or longer. Okay. So if you'd like to stop the video and look at what I'm doing here, especially the function right there, you know, yeah, you can stop the video now and look at that function and how I integrate it in here. You can look at the solution file in the CMS. But I do want to just show you that this could be even quicker. This stuff right here could be even more succinct. Let me just comment out all of this for the moment. And so I'm going to do 4. You can make this even shorter than that. You can just simply go return E in word.lower. What I'm saying here is I'm saying this right here will return a Boolean value itself. So I don't even need to say return up here. I can just simply say return whatever this gives you, which will be a Boolean value of true or false. So it says, is E in a lowercase version of the word that you gave me? If so, well, excuse me, we want has no E. So we need to put E not in, which means is E not in a lowercase version of the word you gave me? If that's true, then return true. If it's false, return false. So yeah, we could do a one-liner here. This is a one-line function that we can make a little more succinct, quite a bit more succinct. And it gives me the same results down here. I just ran it again, and we get the same results where we have 15 letter words or longer, and none of them have E. Okay. So anyway, that's much more succinct. Perhaps this, is that more transparent? I don't know, probably more transparent, right? E not in, word lower. So there you go. Let me expose everything so you can look at everything at once right there. So lines 2 and 3 define a function, and then 5 through 11 run. We go over a file, and on line 10 is where we actually call the function we defined above, has no E. Okay, if I pause the video, go ahead and do so now. Okay, let's take a look. It says modify the previous program so that instead of simply printing to the screen, the words are written to a file named long words without e.txt in the same directory with words.txt. So as I'll jump back over here. So we saw before that we were simply printing them out, those words out to the screen, out to the console, right? On line 11 here. But rather than doing that, we want to write them out to a TXT file on the hard drive. So give that a try. See if you can figure that out. And then we'll look at it together in a few minutes. Go ahead and pause the video now. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at how you can do this next modification. Right here, really, right? Yep. That is it. Pretty short. Okay, so we navigate, we first import OS, then we navigate to the directory with words.txt. And then we do we have one keyword, we have one with keyword here. We have two calls to open. Okay, we have one call to open words.txt as fin, which is file in. We could actually write in file if we want here. Right, I'll do so to make it even more explicit than fin in file. And then we have a comma, and then we have a second call to open. In this case, we're opening a file called long words without e.txt, comma w. So it's important, it's vital to put in w here. Oh, what's that? Mode equals w. Over here, we could put mode equals r for read. We don't need to because that's the default mode. But to be very explicit, I'll just do that. Okay, so once again, we have one use of the keyword with, and we have two calls to open. One makes a call to the words.txt file and reads in, and we save that file connection as in file. Then we have a comma. Then we have another call to open. This time it's to open to what we're going to call long words without e.txt. Now that file does not currently exist on my hard drive. Even if it did, it would actually overwrite whatever in that file. And we do mode equals w this time for mode equals write. Mode equals write. Then we save that as a variable f out. I'll go ahead and make it more explicit, out file. Let me save that down there. Okay, so we have two file connections opened at once. We have one that's opening to file called words.txt. It's coming into our script. We have another connection open to an out file called long words without e.txt. We're going to write out. So we're going to read in, we're going to look at the words and see if we want a word. If we do want a word, we'll write it out to that file. If we don't need the word, then we just move to the next word. We look at that word and evaluate it and say, do we need this word? Yes or no? No? Okay, next word. Look at the next word. Yes? Okay, let's push it out to this out file. Line 5, we loop over the in file, that is words.txt, like we've done before. Line 6, we strip off the white space, that is the new line break on the right side of the word on the end of the line. And then line 7, same thing as before, the previous exercise, right? If the length of the current word is greater than greater than or equal to 15 and has no E, still doesn't have an E, then we're going to do outFile.write the word plus a new line break. This is how you write a new line break in computer code. \n means new line break. \t means tab character. But you know what I'm seeing? There's a red squiggly line that PyCharm is saying, hey, I don't know what this is about. It's because I deleted the function that we created right here. Let me just grab this function again from my solution file. And this one will work even though we saw a much more succinct one. That's fine. I'll just go ahead and put it in right about there. Okay, so there we define the function and then here we call it. So let me see if on my hard drive I already have this long. I probably do from previous. Yeah, I do already have it, but let me delete it. I'm gonna delete off my hard drive to show you that it recreates it. Okay, so I'm gonna run this file or run this script here and see what happens. Okay, so down in my console, it didn't say anything to me. It just says process finished with exit code 0, which is good, meaning there was no error. If there had been an error, it would display it here, and the exit code would be like 1 or something besides 0. This is telling me what it ran and where it ran it from. Anyway, so it didn't say anything to me because I didn't ask it to. I mean, I could down here say, I could print say all done if I wanted to make sure that it actually gets down to that point in the script. And there we go. We got all done right there. So now I should have that file over here. There it is. You can see the modification time was this very time, this very minute. If I open this up, you can see that on each line here, we have, let me see if I can make this bigger. We have a 15-letter word or longer that does not have an E. So now they were put into this file rather than just printing out to the hard drive, or excuse me, printing out to the console. There's a long word. Micro miniaturizations. Put that in your book as a long word. Awesome. Okay, so that's how you do that. If you'd like to pause the video, I'm not sure if you can see all this on one screen. If you'd like to just look at the solution file, might be a better way. But there is the majority of it. The only thing that's different from the previous one is this line 20, where we, rather than printing to the console, we write out. We do outFile.write, open parentheses, word, plus a new line break. Now, I will just show you just for fun that if we don't have that new line break right there, that file right there is not going to turn out well. It'll turn out, but it will be all jumbled together in one big, there we go, all done. It'll be jumbled together in one big string. You can see that the first word I think ends right there, acclimatization, and then we have the second word, acclimatizations. So it didn't put a new line break after each word, right? That's not useful. So that's why we had the new line break right there. Once again, when you have strings and you have a plus sign between strings, it simply concatenates them into one string in Python. Okay, so if you'd like to take a look at that, go ahead and do so. Pause the video now if you'd like to. Okay, let's see what else. Last practice one for this exercise. It says download the jokes.txt file from the CMS, write a program that appends to the file a joke of your own or one you find on the internet, if you must, like I did. So I've already downloaded to my hard drive jokes.txt, and there it is. And you can see some of the jokes that are in here, one line per joke, right? One joke per line. Question, how do all the oceans say hi, hello to each other? Answer, they wave. Yeah, these are awesome. These are knee slappers. How about this one? Where do cows go for entertainment? To the movies. Anyway, we have some jokes here I grabbed from the internet and put into a little TXT file for us to work with. Okay, so we have 5 jokes in here. And again, the assignment or the practice is to download that to your hard drive, good, from the CMS. Write a program that appends to the file a joke of your own choice, of your own. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause the video and give it a try. See if you can append. You're going to need to change the mode argument to the open function. I'll give you that little verbal hint. Okay, ready, set, pause. Okay, let's take a look at how you can do this. Good, 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 good. I did a little bonus thing. If you want to see, there's a little bonus program in my solutions file that's not in the lesson plan about modify your previous program to compute the percentage of all words, not just the long words, that don't have the letter E in them. I have that there if you want to look at that. But I'm going to move on to the solution to what I just asked you to do, which is append a joke to this word, to this file. All right, so let me put it over here. So again, we import OS, which is a module that has this function that we'll need, change directory, CHDIR, right? We have to put the module name dot function. Then we pass in a string that has the pathway down to the directory or folder with the jokes.txt file. Again, I'll just flip over to Finder and show you that jokes.txt is sitting right there within this directory, within that directory, etc. Back all the way up to the top of the file system. And then we open up a connection to jokes.txt. Once again, we have the keyword with, function called open. Then we have a string that gives the name of the file within this directory that we're now in. And rather than read or write, we actually do A for append. We can do mode equals if we want to make it very explicit what this is. This is mode. This is the mode we're doing. We're appending. And we do file out. So what it's going to do is it's going to add to that thing. It's not going to overwrite. If we do a W right there instead of A, it would overwrite all the jokes already in the file, everything in the file with this one joke that I give on line 5. But if we want to append, that is add to the bottom, then we need to do A for append. And then I save it. I save that file connection as a variable name. I do F out for file out. And then down here on line 5, indented, mind the indentation, highly important Python. F out dot write, and then I just put in this string. Ghosts dinner. What do ghosts eat for dinner? Spooketti. I mean, these are great jokes. So that's how you do it. It will append rather than overwrite everything in the file. So let me run this. Let me jump over here real quick and shut down this file. I'm not sure if it needs to be shut down. There's another good one there. So let me just run this little script and see if it adds that new joke to the file. Okay, it finished without any errors. It said exit code 0. I didn't say, hey, tell me when you're done. Once again, I could have it tell me when it's done. I say, hey, say something like all done. Rerun it. And now it says all done. Okay. I jump over with my Finder program to that directory. Here I'm jumping through with Finder down to jokes.txt. Let me open it up. And there it is. I see the problem. Did I run it twice? Oh yeah, I ran it twice because I ran it first and then I added all done to it. So it did it twice. Anyway, there it is. It printed right on the end of the previous joke because there was no new line break there. Anyway, you solve that problem by either putting a new line break in there manually before you run the script or whatever. So if I run the script over here again, just to get the point across that I'm appending, I'm going to rerun it there. It reran. If I come over here, does it update automatically? No, it doesn't update automatically. Let me shut it and reopen it. Now we have it 3 times. So you can see that it's actually appending to the file. It's not overwriting. It's just simply pending, right? Okay. So If you like to pause the video and look at that, this is pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. Just take a string, and I concatenate a new line break on the end there, right, of the string, which I really could have just put in right in like that at the end of the first string, right? Same effect. It'll have the same exact effect. You can see I put tabs in here with \t as well. The main thing here is to append. You put an A there for mode within the open function call. Okay, if you'd like to pause the video and look at that and make it work on your end, I'd encourage you to do so. Okay, so we have reached the end of lesson 5.1. So at this point, you should be capable of navigating to a directory and using the reading, writing, and appending to text files. If you are completely lost, I would rewatch the video, pause it often, make it work on your end, get the code working, the code that I displayed, look at the solution file. If you don't understand what's going on, you barrel on to the next lesson, you're going to be behind. You're just going to get, anyway, I would make sure you take the time to really learn what I'm trying to explain here with each of these lessons. And that now concludes our lesson 5.1 on file handling. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.